we need to talk about Great British Railways. So, hello everyone, Ludwig here, and for serious sake, I'm not putting any intro before the video, and this is technically my second time taking or recording this video. The first time I did it, I wasn't happy enough because it was 15 minutes long. And hopefully this time it wouldn't be that long, because holy hell, it was hard to edit. But going into the main topic of this entire video, ever since around last year in 2024, where apparently the Labour Party has proposed Great British Railways, and then I believe in 2025 it's officially established now, and now basically the whole aim for Great British Railways is like bringing all the train operating companies into like one nationalized like body, basically National Railway Company, if you will. Currently they have, so most recently they have nationalized Southwestern Railway back in 25th of May, C2C back on the 25th of July, and Greater Anglia is the most recent one, being in the 12th of October 2025, all of the three. So ever since they were like rumored or announced like a couple years back by now, I have been like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And after like it had starting to make much more big of an impact on like the railways, or mainly it's just after the free train companies I said before was nationalized. According to at least my past experience on seeing different posts or articles about GBR as a whole on social media, it looks not very good in my opinion, and this is why I'm making this video. So I just thought to mention that currently the Great British Railway project is currently led by Hedy Alexander. I hope I pronounced the name correct. So far, like, I think I'm more or less, I am like, I do admire or I do think what they're trying to do is like, obviously it's a good thing, because train prices is like skyrocketed, and services is very bad. Oh, speaking of which, at least according to on Twitter, SWR, aka Southwestern Railway, isn't doing very well after being nationalized. So what you're probably seeing here would be a Twitter account known as SWR Watch, an account that I have been majoritarily following since, or at least really keeping watch of, for the past nearly a year or so, if as far as I remember. But based on their post, it doesn't seem very well, at least in terms of how SWR is doing, where there's like a lot of delays, cancellations, passengers being stranded. From the top of my head, basically, from what I remember, from how SWR Watch is currently like documenting in terms of how what bad things or concerns that under government ownership, it seems to be either at worse than the previous operator, First Group and MTR, or that at best is like not much service improvement have changed. And in fact, even like, and if you want to question whether or not like is SWR trustable or is like a good source to talk about this from, believe it or not, even an MP mentioned like how SWR is doing very poorly during, I believe, I don't know what's called. Is it like government body meeting? I don't know what it's called. But do excuse my lack of knowledge on this. But yeah, I'll show you a quick clip of this. So basically, this is the tweet I was mentioning about.
I thank the Secretary of State for giving way. She's extolling the virtues of nationalisation. Southwestern Railway, which serves my constituents across Teddington, Twickenham, Hampton and Witton, was nationalised earlier this year. we have only seen the service get worse and worse and worse, with delays, cancellations, short-form trains leading to overcrowding. When can my constituents expect a better service as a result of her policies?
So obviously, as even the MP here noted, even tag of this is SW Help, but yeah, they have basically mentioned, well, the problem with SWR at the moment, and even see as they mentioned here, you need to challenge them basically. But yeah, and I do agree. And
as a result of her
Haiti did mention, or like, at least try to reply against this, like, hey, you're not doing a very good job. You definitely need to do more, basically.
State. The Honourable Lady is right to say that South Western Railways had a difficult few months after it came into public ownership, but the problems that they are experiencing were inherited from the private sector operator. I would point to the fact that the number of new Arterio trains on the South Western network has quadrupled since the train operating company came into public ownership. And I would also point to the fact that cancellations in the directly operated services are actually less on average than the cancellations in the privately run services still.
So basically, that's Hades' response. Though I do wanna and I did questioned why did Haiti mention the Class 701 trains, which is the arterial trains they mentioned. I don't know why, because it's not the fault of delay. If anything, the train itself is the cause of, to put it more clearly as far as my ability allows me to, because obviously the Class 455, which is what the 701's trying to replace, has been a lot of dispute on driver training driver only operation or DOO, and so there's staff uniform, a bunch of other stuff that caused it to have delays into entry into service. And I guess that's just saying that, hey, we got new trains into service really quickly. We are doing something, but that still doesn't respond to how your services are degrading on the SWR network. And not only that, and this is the top of my head that I can think of when I last read something from SWR Watch. How, such as when there are massive disruptions going on here. On the railway, obviously a lot, and obviously no matter is it from outside elements such as heat or too cold or rails cracked over or whatever. Obviously, I don't think it's the operator's fault, but obviously even there has its own problems. So I'm not gonna talk about very in depth here. So at least what the train company can do, at least from what I can remember from what SWR had mentioned, is that obviously the passengers need to get to their destination, amongst this huge disruption. Are there any alternatives to get to have passengers to get to their destinations? Because as far as I've seen from what SWR Watch have been commenting on or said, no, SWR didn't provide free taxis or rail replacement buses to help amongst this huge chaotic disruption going on, which leads to passengers arriving at the destinations late or just stranded at the station for God knows how long. So yeah, not doing a very good job. So but then again, I would just recommend you just read what SWR Watch have really described, because I think they would explain it much better than me. I'm simply just a person that's viewing from a distance, I suppose. Speaking of services, and I just want to quickly mention, I might as well mention LNER here. Obviously, why am I mentioning LNER here? Because for one thing, it's currently running under government ownership still, and I think one of the posts even said regarding GBR, saying that any operators that are running under the DFT or last operator of last resort or whatever, I can't remember, would be already, it would easily be transitioned to GBR ownership running, but I don't think that really makes much of a difference. But there is one thing I could definitely comment on, is the disastrous planning of the December the timetable change on LNER's part. So what have they done? I think just to confirm, currently today is the 11th of December 2025. The timetable change would take effect on the 14th of December, so it's not here yet. So I'm just raising my own concerns. So basically, they have made what I have basically remembered is that they are making more, like, they give more frequent services, but more short form trains. One of the major points of change is how they basically made the Class 91 and Mark 4 sets, where they used to, at least they still currently majorly run on the London King's Cross to Leeds, and occasionally York and Bradford Foster Square. I hope I got the destinations named correctly. They used to, obviously they used to run at least 9 carriages with a DVT or driving fan trailer at the one on the London end, and then the Class 91 on the northern end, basically. But now, due to this timetable having to implement more services to, I think, Newcastle, now they basically shortened the the Mark 4 sets from 9 carriages to 7. I just want to emphasize again, the timetable change hasn't happened yet, and so I really can't confirm factually whether or not is this, an actual problem. But still, the East Coast main line is a very, very busy main line with a lot of passengers, using that line to get up to places like Peterborough, Doncaster, Leeds, York, Newcastle, and even Edinburgh. And you think it was a good idea to short form trains, which even in the Southwestern Railway territory, even happens as well. Why would you think it would be a good idea to, having a longer service, but shorter trains? Sorry, extending service, my bad. But, I think my point still stands. But the reason why they only did this was because so that the Class 91 and Mark 4 sets can match the IET timings that when they can go up to Newcastle. Now, the last time I have ridden on a Mark 4 set was during what the 225 groups mentioned as 225 Day, where they celebrate the day of the Intercity 225 sets. And the last time I rode it, I've only ride it up to Stevenage. All the standard class carriages are packed. It's like jam packed. Now, the last time I have took the Intercity 225s, or aka the Class 91 and Mark 4 sets, was during around 7 p.m. ish. So it would be around peak time still, where passengers are commuting back home to places like, as I mentioned before. I'm not gonna repeat myself, but you get the idea. Short forming train is still not a good idea on a busy main line out of London, especially. I have seen so many articles about how short forming trains is bad, and so obviously you still want a seat on a long journey between for more than 2 hours, shall I say, if you're gonna commute for a little bit of a longer distance when you need to go to London occasionally, or for work there. So, but yeah, that proves my point. I am genuinely concerned how there's gonna be so much cases of overcrowding on the LNER services in the next upcoming timetable change. And look, I'm not gonna delve into that anymore, otherwise I'll yap for an hour. Anyways, let's quickly transition to the next topic I want to talk about, GBR. So about, a few days ago, GBR has showcased this. Well, let's announce this. This is supposedly the GBR Livery, the official one. I get the intention on what they're doing here. Now, I personally think, at least at first glance, I think it's about, it does the job well, it's alright, it looks kinda okay. And the amount of logos they have been slapping onto, trains on, on operator that they recently nationalized. I'll quickly also show one here, just to give an example of what I was talking about here. Now, unless you couldn't tell, the livery obviously consists of, if not somewhat inspired by the colors of the Union Jack flag, which is, the flag of the United Kingdom. Now, the intention, obviously, for GBR as a whole is basically saying that, the national railway, the railways is now owned by the British people, and yeah, I do like agree with that slogan. I'm not British. I'm originally from Hong Kong, and I'm only here for the sake of university. So I personally don't find this as offensive, but I feel like this would. Cause now here's the thing. I'll give you an example. Sorry. Where if you think of, say, a Japanese train, would you think that their train would be colored, white and red, just like their flag color would? No, obviously not. So I think that this is like somewhat offensive to the British people, wouldn't it? And because unfortunately, in the UK climate here, politics is involved in a lot of things. No matter is it bad right-wing politics or left-wing politics, whatever. They always use the Union Jack flag, and most recently, I believe there was this whole debate about how how foreigners are like taking over our culture, taking over our job, like taking our jobs away. We need to kick them out. Now this is like a right-wing thing basically, and they usually just put the England flag with the white and red cross like all around different places to spread how this we this country we own this country. So obviously that's a bit wrong, and unfortunately that's guided by very wrong government propaganda, and hence why I think having the Union Jack color flag on trains is a bit risky move or bad, and here what you should be seeing right now is the supposedly thing where they say about how the Union Jack flag colored livery is going to be applied to all trains, or more like a problem, because it's a bit confusing, wouldn't it? Because even if you look like, unless you're knowledgeable on like train design or whatever, or trains with like faraway doors on like each end of the carriage, like intercity, and then like double doors in like somewhat focused on the middle, would be commuter train. But regular people wouldn't know that. And here's another example. If I say I'm in London Bridge, right? And if all trains are in the same color, and are painted under the GBR livery. Now there are two operators that uses the same type of train, Southern and Southeastern, which uses Class 377 and Class 375. I should have opposite that, but 375 is with Southeastern, 377 is with Southern. Some 377 as well is also on the Southeastern side, but yeah, you get the idea. Basically, they are the same type of train. Now, if I'm in London Bridge and for example, I'm just trying to get to, say, East Croydon, or I don't know, somewhere along the south coast, so like Sussex, what I should be doing is by taking a Southern service, down to said south coast. But if all the different lines have the exact same train, it's the same type of train, even the look-alike, from the same livery, how would I know where this I would be confused, because I might be going onto the wrong direction, because hell, I might end up I might be ended up in Kent for God knows how, for God who knows, because the livery looks the exact same. And obviously the first answer, you would be saying that, why not look at the departure boards? And I agree. I would definitely look at the departure board as well and make sure I got on the right train. But there would still be confusion if there's any platform alterations. And that's just in terms of the route wise on the same type of train that, it goes to different routes basically, as far as I'm just struggling with speaking here. But even in this, in this example where you got an intercity train and a commuter/regional train. Now these the bottom train here, for those who don't know, is there's a Zyro Class 350 or 450. They didn't look identical, but one runs on third rail only, one can only run on overhead wires. So even on LNWR or London Northwestern Railway territory, they sometimes even run fast services at least up to Crewe and then there's also alongside Avanti West Coast, who runs like fast services. So like even at Birmingham New Street, for example, there might be a bit confusing, because if both trains are like, I don't know, at least running on the same pace or depart at different time, someone would still, you know, get on the wrong train for the price they paid for. I feel like it's not very, you know, fair to the paying passenger, is it? Now, what I would suggest in doing is having regional specifications, such as, at least, well, regional differences, or and preferably much more obvious to see that, that colored line is a train that goes to destination A, another color that goes to destination B. It's something, again, as I will bring it up, mention again, like Japanese railways, where every like line has its own designated color. Like the Keihin Tokura line is like bright blue, and then the very famous Yamanote line is like in green color. And obviously in here, we don't get that at all. In fact, the UK sort of in my example sort of did this before, and it was during the British Railway sectorization era, where you get intercity liveries. You got for long distance services, and then you got regional services for as the name suggests, regional destinations. It's like commuter-ish, but for regional. And then you got the Network Southeast livery for actual commuter services, as the name suggests, down south. Now, obviously, I do appreciate the more visually differences between the liveries. Obviously, they all stand out amongst each other. The style, the design is like very organized or in line or fitting to the era or time, whatever it is. Basically, the style / design matches with very different color variation that is easily distinguishable amongst each other. And just as an add-on to what I wanted to say as well, for example, if you think of, say, Cornwall or Devon, what color would you think of? If your first thought is Great Western Railways is like dark green color, you'll be correct, because honestly, they mostly operated there. And here's another example. If you say you're trying to get to the south coast, regions like Sussex, or places like Littlehampton, Brighton, Portsmouth Harbour, Eastbourne, etc., what color would you think of? If you think of white and aqua-ish green, you'd think of Southern, and you'd be correct. Because honestly, as of now, obviously, once now everything is nationalized, we can't really mention or use the names of the operator that used to, run said services, but at least the color, the name, the color, it connects to our, it's embedded in our brain, and it can, automatically connects to, geographically a location, I would say. And, with everything being the same color, you can't really, differentiate, which train goes where. It gives you a general direction as to where it's going, basically. But now, I really am sorry that if this video is too long, but I do want to bring attention to this interview here done by Nick, very famous train YouTuber Nick Badley here, who got to interview the Minister of State by Rail, Peter Handy here, which I just want to let you guys hear what he has to say before I comment on anything, basically.
Well, there's an issue here about presenting the network as one thing for passengers, so it's very important that GBR has a strong, coherent brand now, because people don't like and are quite confused by the multiplicity of different brands across the railway, and it's really important for us to get across the idea that this is one brand, a railway for the benefit of passengers and freight users, run, owned by the people, producing real national benefit. That doesn't mean that there isn't space for good brands like Great Western and South Western, and we'll find a way of using them, if only because actually parts of the railway are going to be run by people on an integrated local basis, as South Eastern and South Western and Anglia currently are. But actually, it's really important for GBR to have a strong presence across Britain. For the first time for over 30 years, you'll be able to use a railway that ought to offer you the same levels of service and reliability at Penzance as it does at Great Yarmouth or I don't know, Liverpool or wherever.
And I guess really big props to Nate Bally for even mentioning the sectorization livery in front of the Minister of State of Rail, because, and this is something that I don't think it should be confusing, wouldn't it? Like, yeah, sure, like, same operator might run on the same line, but that doesn't mean it's confusing. They still get to their destinations. In fact, if your livery is still the same, that will even confuse more people. Like, sure, I somewhat do agree, you need a big presence here, but is your presence doing anything? As aforementioned before, my concerns for the December timetable LNER and the lack of service improvement on the Southwestern Railway. Like, your strong presence is there, but you're there, but if you're not gonna do anything. I guess I would somewhat agree to what Peter say, how, you know, obviously it should be a good idea to have everything, you know, into one brand, but even then, a brand's a brand. You still can't confuse the passenger for those who are trying to get to their destination. Again, one single livery for everything is a terrible idea. Hi, post-editing Ludwig here. I just want to quickly show you guys here. This is Louis Bergen, who even after seeing the liveries, the official GBR livery, they even like had a little formal letter in basically describing what's the problem with it. And I think if you want to read in detail, again, I'll link it in the description if you want to read it. But basically, from how they say it, and I think I've said it as well, the new GBR livery is very inaccessible, it's confusing, and is decisive, or more or less going against morality. Again, if you want to read this in detail, I'll link in the description. That's it. And hence why I suggest there should be at least some sort of regional variation on said livery to indicate, you know, where this train would mainly serve. You give people the general direction, like on first glance, say, okay, yeah, that's my train, because that train is going, the south of the UK. That's what my indication would be. And I'll also quickly plug this here, because a lot of people I've seen in discussions where they say how, yeah, I think the livery mainly focus and works around the IET. So now, obviously, because the Class 806 family of trains, which is the IETs or whatever I want to call it, we got the 800, 801, 802, 803, 805, 807, and then 810 with the EMR. No, the train itself would be a completely separate video. Like, I'm not gonna explain in detail here as to why that train is bad, but if you're fair to say, it's bad. But basically all you need to know, that most of the trains equipped on it is very poor, it has poor ride quality, and most cases it operates onto long journeys and you don't even get like a sandwich on board or something, or a hot pasty you can get. Nothing. So GBR having to focus around this train, and probably soon for infrastructure to surround this train in particular, is a bit concerning. And I'll stop right here before this gets like an hour long, I guess. Now this is the last thing I want to mention before this video gets a bit too long. It's that before the livery was introduced, and I think it was around the time when the free operators have been nationalized, GBR did this thing, which I guess goes to say the truth of how, what Peter said earlier about how, GBR should have a strong brand, a strong presence here. This is a new clock, they say, and already, by the way, this is the Network Rail site, and they wanted to call it a timepiece already. Now look, strong presence or not, and obviously, and there's no problem with it. I don't think so. But the problem comes in, as I've aforementioned before, lack of service improvement. Where is it seen? And there was another, hold on. Now, I'll also quickly briefly mention here, I think this is most relevant as well, where they are going to open up an app, and the ticketing system is, apparently the ticket pricing system is like something what LNER is doing. This is the problem, by the way, where they're using dynamic pricing. From LNER, I believe, I'll give you an example, around from, like, say, King's Cross to Edinburgh. before the dynamic pricing they introduced last year, it would cost around or average 80 to like maybe £90 if you just want to get up to Scotland. I believe that's including return as well. It's refundable. But now after the dynamic pricing was introduced last year, they got rid of the 80 to £90. In fact, it got more expensive. Now it's averaging about, and I literally did look at it in the previous in my previous take on this video. It would cost you about £110 to about 130, even more if you're unlucky enough to get your ticket on just like an interchange for some reason. That goes to say, maybe using dynamic pricing or simplifying fares isn't a very good idea. But I do agree the idea of simplifying fares. Just thought that in the sacrifice on having my cost of travel to be much more expensive than it already is. Once again, reminder: the lack of service improvement. I guess the train itself is pretty bad in recent times as well. At best, it's mid, not good at all. At least according to here. This is a quote that someone had mentioned before when I was in a Discord online discussion. Now, I'll zoom this in during edit, where basically says, making sure each interaction along the passenger journey is consistent. Now, this is something I made up. How we offer consistent service, just never a good one. And I feel like that pretty much explains everything, or describes perfectly in regards to the current climate where GBR is. Well, obviously the train, and by the way, the train isn't really their problem because the IETs are more or so the previous government's poor lack of decision making on their behalf when they are specifying their IET to replace all the Class Livery HSD. But this, I thought I might just plug it here, because this is also a point where I want to mention, including into the service, the lack of service improvement, is that because a lot of the trains have very poor seats, and the fact that, as GBR, they say that they want to improve passenger experience on their trains now. I'm not seeing any, definitely. The long distance trains like the 808X, it's still very poor. They still equip seats that are supposedly for short distance regional services, not proper intercity services. From my top of my head, the best example, they should have followed specifications like from Deutsche Bahn, some Germans Deutsche Bahn ICE 3 Neo. I would recommend you go watch OM the Rails' video on the train itself, which both include standard and first. I'll leave the link in the description for everything that I've seen and source I've show in this video. But I feel like you get the idea here. Everything that GBR have led to has been, we're here. We're slapping everything that's our logo and saying that, we're coming soon, we're here. Which brings me back to this. How is it that this should be called a timepiece when the efforts that you, or lack thereof, have not been put in at all? From a general public's perspective, I'm not seeing any improvement on the railway at all. You're just saying that you're here. In fact, again, the improvement that you're proposing for delivery here is very poor. And the fact that I'm genuinely concerned how I might get the wrong train to the wrong destination. I feel like you should, at this point, you might as well say privatized instead of nationalizing everything. So, yeah. I feel like a lot of famous YouTubers never even talk about this, and this is something been bugging me, and I've been posting a lot on Twitter regarding this topic, and that it's genuinely concerning if Hades is, or at least the Labour Parliament or GBR as a whole, is trying to improve the railway experience. From what we have seen so far, ever since their first establishment, barely exist. And I guess to a really far stretch, the only improvement that I've ever really seen, not in person, is reacquiring Transparent Express, because First Group isn't doing a very good job on running their trains because it's always late. Look, I would please leave down in the comment section whether or not do you agree or disagree with me or not, because I genuinely don't think GBR is doing anything enough to improving the UK railways. As a lot of people say during the British Railway era, we used to be very good at trains. We used to be very good at liveries. And look, I'm not old enough, or I wasn't young enough to experience the British Railway sectorization era. I've only ever been born around when privatisation is still starting to build up, which is in 2003 if you are curious. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. If I forget anything, at best I'll leave some more text along the video, or I'll leave down in the comment section, adding surplus to my points as previously mentioned. I am sorry that if this video is way too long. I tried my best to condense everything that I want to say in regards to GBR, as far as my as far as my ability can go. So I'm gonna end this video here. Once again, comment down below whether or not do you agree or disagree with me what I'm saying. And for the love of God, GBR, do better than this. I look forward to you seeing, like, I do look forward to seeing how you're gonna improve the railway, but your proposed plan is just not visible at all. So I'm genuinely concerned now. The fact that I'm still pissed off the fact that the lack of comfort on long distance intercity trains, or in fact any trains at all, because we still have the ironing board seats and the Vanessa Sophia seats, which also the Vanessa also produced the ironing board seats. We're still not swapped out yet, because a lot of the trains still have those seats, and GBR, in fact, has currently, or at least government or nationalized operators, still a majority of their train have those seats, and yet you're not swapping them at all, like swapping them out at all for better passenger experience. That, and alongside with cancellations and delays and, well, the lack of helping passengers to get to their destinations on time. Anyway, I'm ending this here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you agree with me, like this video if you like it. And again, comment down below. Have a little discussion. I wouldn't mind. I would read your comments. And again, whether or not do you agree with me or not, I would like to know your thoughts on this. At least not situation on, you know, GBR. What's GBR doing currently? And subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss my next video. And I'll see you all in the next video then. I don't want to make this as a regular occurrence because I want to make gaming videos and just anything that isn't me just talking to you face to face like this. Anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you all in the next video then. Ludwig, or I'm Adrian. See you all in the next video then. Ludwig signing off. Peace out and bye bye.